Hi, how you doing? I'm down in the grow room and I'm about to transplant the Lysianthus seedlings. They are looking really nice and I think they're about due for their own little pots. At the same time, I thought I'd show you what's going on under the lights. I'll give you an update on the seeds I planted a couple weeks ago, some success, some failures, and I'm going to winter sow just a couple of jugs of perennial seeds. So I thought maybe you'd like to hang out with me for a little while and I'll show you what I'm doing. My name is Sharon. I garden on a large yard in a small town in east central Saskatchewan, Zone 3. Welcome to my Sask Garden. So to start off with, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I cut back these 3 pots of geraniums in order to take cuttings from them. And I just wanted to show you how they respond to being cut back, because I think I told you at the time that they would push a whole bunch of new growth. And that's exactly what all of this is. Those are brand new leaves. They're pushing out from the stems. Let's see if I can get in there. They're pushing out just from the stems, all that new growth. That's going to be a really nice, bushy geranium when the time comes to move it outside. And these other ones, these are the 2 light pink ones. So this is an old leaf here. So that can be picked off. That can be, all of these old leaves can be picked off to make room now for all of this new growth that's in here. That looks really nice. And then here's the third one. Same thing. This is all new growth. And look at the nice zoning on it now too. Whereas the old leaves seem to have had lost that zoning. But now it's really coming in nicely. And I think, I'm really happy with the way they've responded. Very good. It also tells me that my lights are bright enough, which, they're LED shop lights basically. And they're nothing special in terms of grow light wavelengths or par, I guess it is. And but they're still doing well. And next, here's the seeds that I seeded about, I think I counted 16 days ago now. I think it was, well, maybe it's more. I think it was February 4th that I seeded these. And so these are the 3 trays of onion. And I had really good germination on this is the Cartier, which was last year's seed. This is the Candy, this one, which is 2-year-old seed. And I really wasn't expecting that many. And then this is the Spanish Medallion, which I just got that seed this year. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of wound itself around there like that. And there's all those little black little balls on the top. Those are still the seed, the outside of the seed. And onion are kind of funny the way that usually happens. The outside of the seed, or the husk, I guess, is still on it. You don't have to take it off. It's neither here nor there. They often grow with part of it still stuck in the soil. See right there? And that's where the seed husk would be. And it sometimes gets stuck in there. Usually they pop up without any intervention. But sometimes I will just give it a little tug. Not a big tug, because that it has to come out really, really easily. Otherwise, you don't want to be pulling on it too hard, but you don't need to do that either. They really do make their way quite well all by themselves. Now what will happen with these, if you've not grown onion from seed before, is I'm just going to use scissors and give them a little trim. You want to keep them at about 4 inches tall, and that just helps to, it sends more energy into the root development as opposed to growing a whole lot of green. So I'm just going to trim this one. I hope that that you're being able to see this well, but really it's just, honestly, it's just giving it a little haircut. And the stems that aren't that long, you don't need to cut them. If they're still short, you can just leave them short. You'll have to do this a few times through the season or through the growing period before you actually plant them out. So yeah, that's really all you do. And when you cut these, you know they're onion because they already smell like onion. These are the spearmint seeds. They are very tiny, and that's more than I need, so I'm happy enough with that. Even smaller, these are the Dalmatian bellflower. This camera maybe isn't the greatest for getting in really close. Yeah, see? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a photo and blow it up so you can see. But there's actually 8 seedlings in here, which, you have to look extremely close in order to be able to see them. And these are the 2 containers of Dusty Miller seedlings. They've both germinated well. One is silver dust. This one here is silver dust. That's the one I grew last year as well. And in this container is New Look, which is the one with the fatter leaf. They'll stay in here until they get to at least their second true leaf stage, which they're just starting to push their first true leaf, so it's going to be a while. They are slow growers, which is why I started them as early as I did. The failure that I've had, so far anyway, is the black pearl ornamental pepper seeds that you may recall, I sowed them at the same time as all of the rest of those seedlings that I just showed you, and not one has germinated. And that's why I counted the days today, because it's well over 2 weeks. And so I dug them up to see what was going on. And I didn't find one that had a root coming out of it or anything. They just have not germinated. I'm going to put some in paper towel today and put that directly on the heat mat and see if that helps. I don't know. I don't know if they weren't warm enough. There was a mixture of seeds. Some was last year's seed that I had bought, and pepper seed should stay viable for a few years. So I don't think it should be that the seed was old. And the other seed was my own harvested seed. I don't know, maybe it wasn't ripe. It sure seemed ripe. It was nice and dry when I harvested them. So I don't know what the issue is. The geranium cuttings, they are taking their sweet time at rooting. And shortly after I took the cuttings, I decided that I would put them in a tray instead of directly on this heat mat. Let's see if I can show you. It's black, so it's hard to see. But I had them in a tray instead. And that tray has ridges in it, which brings them up off the heat mat a bit. And I have this handy dandy little thermometer that I can take the temperature of the soil. And it's around 22, which should be good for rooting. But I thought well, maybe they want it a little bit warmer. So I've put them back directly on the heat mat, some over here and some over here. They're not dying, and there are some that have, well, the few that I've looked at, I hate digging them up all the time. Some have rooted, that have roots, but some have not yet, so I'm not sure what's going on. And here's the Lisianthus seedlings that I'm going to work on in a minute. First, though, I thought I'd do these ornamental black pepper. It's basically a seed germination test. So I have some paper towel, and I have a baggie, and I have the seeds, and this is just this much paper towel. You don't need a great deal. And so I'm just going to fold it into 4 like that. As long as it fits in the baggie, that's really all you need. And I'm just going to wet it. Pick up the seeds so you don't get them wet at the same time. That's pretty good. Now the seeds that I have left are just my own. I no longer have any of the ones I bought last year. but these seeds are from the plants I grew last year. So it's not like they're old seed. And I'm going to go quite heavy in the event that, you know, I have really poor germination. So if you're, this is, like I said, this is the basis of a seed germination test. You would take 10 seeds or 100 seeds or 20 seeds, whichever you want, and then you, when they germinate, you would count how many. So if you had 7 out of 10 germinate, then you could say, okay, I have 70% germination. You could then sow what you need based on that amount of germination. I would probably do like plus 10% or something like that. So you just scatter them on there, fold it over, and put it in the baggie. Seal up the baggie, and then I'm going to put this on the heat mat so that they are really nice and warm. The heat mat is on 24 hours. Ideally, they should germinate in 7 to 10 days, you know, maybe 2 weeks at the very most. So they will just sit right there. And at the same time, those are the pepper seeds, and I'll still let them go and let them see if they still do anything in there. This is kind of a new setup today. I put that little black pot right on top of the heat mat. So again, there aren't those ridges preventing some of the heat from getting up there and getting the soil as warm as it can be. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and transplant those Lysianthus seed. And I'll put the camera down and kind of talk through how I'm going about it. So for these, I'm going to just press slightly just to get that down a little further. I want to make sure that the bottom has, the soil has good contact with the bottom, because I'll be bottom watering, and I want to make sure that there's nothing down there that is going to prevent the soil wicking it up. And then I'll just add a bit more. I'm not expecting, I haven't dug any of those Lysianthus up yet to see what the roots are like. I'm not expecting them to be big. I may be surprised, I don't know. I'm going to start with the biggest ones. These are the Arena Purple. I'm not going to put tags in each one. They're all getting planted in the same area, and I don't need to identify which are which, because even if they're a big mix, that'll be fine by me. Nice roots. So these will get just, I guess the roots will get just a little damage. I'm hoping that they're not so tender. I've watched the odd YouTube video that it doesn't look to me like they are. But this is a really good reason why you want to have a nice loose soil mixture when you're doing this, because then they come apart quite easily. See that they just come apart very easy. I expect these should be no different than any other annual. You want to try and keep the roots intact. And this is the clump. There's 4 in there. And I remember putting all that seed down all at once, that 4 dropped. And the seed are so tiny that I really wasn't able to, just going to move the light, that I really wasn't able to move them around very much. But it looks like they all germinated. And I just need to be able to, oh yeah, they divide easy. They're all starting to push their third leaf, their third true leaf. They're doing well. Just keep separating. You always want to hang on to a leaf when you're handling seedlings. You can see that the soil is fairly dry, but I'm going to spray it when I'm done, and then I'll probably also soak it from the bottom, possibly with a little bit of fertilizer, rooting fertilizer, just to get it going. And that's how you do it. You know, I'm looking really close to see if what I see on the undersides of the leaves is vermiculite. But I'm looking very closely because those lantana pots that I had under here, I went to look at them one day a couple weeks ago because I was thinking about doing cuttings of them, and I discovered that they were full of aphids. Or not full, but they had a lot of aphids. So I promptly tossed them outside where they could enjoy the 40 below weather. And I thought, there, you know, take that, aphid. Now, they were not near these. I don't think they would have traveled. But just now when I was seeing stuff on the on the undersides of the leaves, I thought perhaps I should check a little bit closer. So that's 6, 12, 18, 22. So we'll move that tag over there, and now I'll get on with the other ones. Oh, those aren't in a tray. I was going to flip this around, but those aren't in a tray, so that won't work. Maybe I'll put them in a tray. Now I think there's fewer of these in here. I'm pretty sure I counted 19. And these are the Corelli lavender. Same thing with these. Just going to take them apart. Also really nice roots on these. You know, I keep reading that these are difficult to grow, and so far I'm not finding that. I'm finding that they're slow to grow, but if you feel like playing with something from, you know, Christmas onward, and you like to grow cut flowers, I would grow them again. As I said, so far these don't seem any more difficult than, you know, a petunia or any other annual, except for the fact that they take so long. That nice loose mix really helps. They just come apart so easy when you have lots of perlite in the soil, and that's why I like that high porosity. It just doesn't pack down at all. So it's 18, and this one would be 19, so I was right. I'm going to plant two together here, just so I don't have to use up a 6 cell for one plant. So here's a close-up of them. Now I'm just going to pump up the sprayer and water them, and then I'm also going to pour some fertilized water, I think, into the tray and let them soak it up from the bottom. One other thing I like to do when I transplant is just for a day or two, while they're kind of adjusting, I like to use a dome just to make sure that everything is rehydrated and they're going to be happy. Just like I said, for a day or two. All right, that's all done. One last thing to do, and it's going to be pretty quick. I'm just going to winter sow a couple of seeds, couple of packages of perennial seed. The reason I'm doing it that way is, again, I'm gonna run out of room under the lights. These perennials should be fairly fast growing, and I think they're going to be fine winter sowed. If you've not winter sowed before in milk jugs, and that's by sowing the seed now and throwing them out into the snow, throwing the milk jugs out into the snow, and then those perennial seeds germinate in the milk jugs and they can grow on for a while, and then you can just from the milk jug you can plant them directly into the garden, or you can plant them into pots and grow them on in pots, which I think is probably what I'll do, only because I'm not sure where they're going to go. They will be hardened off at that point. They're going to be treated just like a perennial at that point. So again, I'm just going to set the camera down and kind of talk through what I'm doing. 2 milk jugs, a bit of tape, and a Sharpie, and soil and seeds. That's all you need. Okay, so we're starting off with the Pro Mix again, and I'm just going to wet this a little for these seeds, or for this method of sowing seeds. It's good to start off with damp soil. I'm not going to add any extra perlite because it doesn't need any. And I'm going to be sowing Shasta daisy and painted daisy. So you want it to be wet, but not, when you squeeze it, you don't want water dripping out. So that's perfect. First thing you need is milk jugs. And they just need to be cut starting at the handle back there. You start on one side of the handle, you cut all the way around, and you stop just short of the handle so that it opens up, but the top doesn't come right off. So I have 2 milk jugs. I'm just going to fill it with soil. Actually, I'm not going to fill it. About 2/3 full, I'd say. You want room for the roots to grow, but you also want room on top for the plants to grow after they germinate. And I think that both of these will grow fairly quickly, assuming that they're going to germinate just fine. These are the painted daisy. They used to be chrysanthemum. Then I think they changed the name to something else, Tanacetum maybe. Now I don't know what they call them. Marguerite daisy is another name for them. Says to sow in full sun after danger of frost. In frost-free areas, sow from fall to early spring. Yeah, so if these were to have seeded out in the fall, they would, just germinate in the spring and keep going. So you're kind of just mimicking nature here, but in a little bit of a controlled way. So I'm just going to sprinkle them on the top of the soil. You don't have to be really precise here, because there's nothing precise about how it goes in nature. All right, I'm going to press them into the soil, press them down pretty good. So I'm just going to cover it up a little, press it down a little again. Okay, Shasta daisy, these are the Alaska. I've grown these before with great success. And 10 to 20 days to germinate, an 1/8 of an inch deep. Cover with 1/4 inch of soil, or 6 millimeters. Oh, that's a lot of seed. There's no way I could find room for all that, so I'm going to do about half, I think. I sprinkle the seed in. So I just went to move the seed packet, and I dumped them all out, all the rest of them. And that's in damp soil. So, so I guess I am going to seed all of them after all. So again, I'm just going to press it down into the soil. And then I'm going to cover with some soil. If you've not seen this, again, I'll just show you now. You don't cover this, you don't put a cap on. You want it exposed to the rain and snow and whatever else may come along. You just actually tape it up so that it stays closed, acts as its own little greenhouse sort of, and it still has a place for heat to vent out. Duct tape works best. I don't have any in the house. I didn't feel like going to the garage, so for now I'm just going to use packing tape. And then before I set them out, I don't know if packing tape, it works, it seems to be okay on packages that are outside, so it might be all right. But I can add duct tape when I go outside. So you just go all the way around and make sure that that's sealed up. Just kind of line it up, get it to where it's supposed to be, so it kind of looks a little bit like a milk jug again. And just seal it up. You know, in the spring, I'll just show you how you can water them without taking them apart. So in the spring, when it starts getting warmer and you look at them and it kind of looks like they're a little bit dry, you can just stick your nozzle of your spray bottle in there and give them a little bit of a water that way. And that's winter sowing. Aside from putting them out into the snow, but that's winter sowing. So that's it for me for today. I got my gardening tasks done. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed the video, I hope you did. Consider giving me a thumbs up, tell your friends, and hit that subscribe button. Thanks again. See you.